Well, it's very, very nice to see you all, and thank you for coming. We are now finalizing preparations for another competition, 15th competition. I was the chairman of the previous competition after the death of Mstislav Rostropovich, and it was my first experience with this competition, although I was conducting a long time ago, accompanying some winners in 1986. This is how I know Barry Douglas, for example, because he was a gold medal winner, or Mario Brunello. That was a good year, I thought, for competition. And now, in about 1 month, on the 15th of June, competition will start in Moscow and St. Petersburg. We have singers and cellists in St. Petersburg. We have pianists and violinists in Moscow. I don't want to repeat what is already so clear in this press release, so I am simply very grateful you came and you found time. We hope that it will be a very interesting, I wouldn't call it tournament, but they have to compete. There will be very strong pianists, very strong violinists. I talked to those who listened to preliminary. There were about 700 applications. All those 700 had very strong recommendations from famous musicians. And it's a very promising situation, it seems. My experience 4 years ago was, let's say, it was very rich experience, and even if competition would bring to the attention of the world one single young musician, Daniil Trifonov, it was worth doing it, because since competition I played with him maybe 50 concerts, and I can see that there was a fantastic choice all the jury members made, and a very special story of the last competition was and is continued, that it was not so much about the gold medal or prize money, it was a guarantee for a winner, especially for Grand Prix winner of all categories. There was one winner to play with leading orchestras, which included then Vienna Philharmonic and London Symphony and Mariinsky, by the way, many others, to play in best halls like Carnegie Hall, or here opening of the season was LSO. I remember Daniil played a large tour with Vienna Philharmonic, which I had for years and years in my plans, but it was possible to include Daniil in concerts of this tournée. That was immediately after the competition, and that was what brought so much to Daniil immediately. Maybe in 3, 5, 6 months, he was really what you call worldwide famous and much welcomed, of course, in many continents. And we went together to Japan, to all major European halls, and US, of course, including opening of the season of Carnegie Hall. So it was a very, very important addition to what the history of this competition had. What I could do, I can't do much after Shostakovich being a first chairman of the competition, so we have to be very realistic. But that much I could do, that a winner will have a very definite proposal, a very definite opportunity to come to audiences 3, 4 continents and then demonstrate what he is capable of, because then he has to play. We cannot do anything more. And it worked. I am very pleased that we work with Medici. We worked already quite many times, of course, the famous Verbier Festival in Europe, which I consider one of the best festivals of our times. We worked together successfully. We work in Russia even very recently, because now we are celebrating 175 years of the birth of Pyotr Tchaikovsky. It's a little bit strange, and I don't know how it happened, but only 3 weeks ago I was for the first time in a house where Tchaikovsky was born, in the Votkinsk in Russia. Everything is in very good shape there, so the house itself, it's a museum, and the monument to Tchaikovsky, and there is not a very large but beautiful theater and concert hall, so it's a nice place. It looks so beautiful, and entire Mariinsky Orchestra was with me. We spent a couple of hours in the house. I hope one day we can invite also international guests and just spend some time, maybe support young musicians playing music of Tchaikovsky in his birthplace, even including his piano, which is there. Which touched it. By the way, Barry Douglas was with me. I think he also had quite a lot of overwhelming emotional feelings, I would say. Many of those South Korean or Chinese or Japanese young performers are studying or even continuing to, let's say, after finishing studies at Juilliard or Curtis, they continue to work with their teachers, with their colleagues, and playing chamber music. Since I know some of them, so they are based in US, so the US will be represented very, very big time, and also Europeans. But it's clear tendency that the Asian representation, if you talk about nationalities, is increasing every time. Every competition you see more and more people coming from. South Korea, very successful school there, very successful. China, of course, Japan. So it will be interesting to see what this combination of being born in Asia and then studying in Europe or by the way, some of them study in Russia as well. There are quite many Koreans and Chinese in Russia and in the US. And this is a very interesting combination, what domestic tradition and then being a student in New York or in London or in St. Petersburg brings to a very interesting results. We experienced it 4 years ago. It was surprise for many, but South Korea was very, very strong overall. In every category, they had very, very strong young musicians. I heard most of them, and they deserved so much attention and so much praise, I have to say. But none of them maybe came close to Trifonov, who got the Grand Prix, but he has something very, very special. But all of them were very, very strong, and I expect this competition to be even more even. For example, cello competition last time, the difference between the five was in the 1/10 or 100th. So they were so close, and there was such a debate in the panel and the jury because they were all quite good. All five, I would say, they were very, very good. Let's hope this time we will discover many interesting names, although I see amongst the participants also those who already won big competitions. So in a way they look at it as a possibility to go and take the biggest prize of their youth and then become professionals without thinking again about any competition. That's how I see it from what I was given. In any case, we cooperate and work, and it's important to say because I have a big experience in doing recordings and making videos and films, and we have our own label, and we filmed many opera ballet. So, and I especially hope and look forward to see that it will be also with the quality which Medici will bring, because young people, you know, they send DVD sometimes and the quality is not good, so they sometimes do not succeed. And they are not chosen because even the technical quality is not good, and unfortunately they cannot demonstrate their best sound quality. And I think in this case they will be helped enormously. This is a big advantage of having professionals on all rounds. I think we had last time more than 3 million views. That last time competition also had internet, but I believe Medici will bring it to another level. When I want something to happen, I have to make it happen. So I find time. And there is a fast train between Moscow and St. Petersburg. There's a flight 1 hour, but train maybe more. And it coincides with the White Nights Festival, which is traditionally the biggest festival we have in Russia for opera, ballets, and big symphonic concerts. And there will be many artists who come during the competition, will be also in St. Petersburg, like Zuckerman or like Vladimir Ashkenazy, who cannot participate or they simply expressed, which I very much respect. For example, Pinchas Zuckerman, who I consider really one of great musicians of our time, he, together with me, will spend considerable amount of time helping those who are chosen, and maybe those who are not winning gold medal, but clearly so gifted. So we will try to work carefully and to help them. We believe we can help them maybe a little bit more than the agents help them, because it's not only about how often these young musicians are booked, but it's how easily they will go from this level to other level without being physically destroyed or psychologically. Sometimes we can see it in the young musicians. They just can't take all of this because they are booked like 4 or 5 times a week, and they still don't have a repertoire. So they have to work a lot, prepare new things, and then play the same Tchaikovsky concerto everywhere, and then fly, and not sleep enough. That's a killing. You know it better than I do, because we observed many things in the last 30 years, 35 years. I worked with so many young musicians, singers, pianists, violinists, including those who are now world famous, but nobody knew them before. Kisin or Vengerov or Repin or Netrebko. My list will be very long. But I know how many risks they were facing. I remember Vengerov crying, being 11 years old in front of me, and we were all helpless. We didn't know how to help him. It was simply too much for him. It was on the border of a terrible risk for his future. I remember this. It was in Japan. So these things should not happen, or should happen as rare as possible, as rare as possible. I'm not a jury member, so I don't have to vote. I just have to respect the opinion of those who are chosen to be members of jury. Of course, I know all of them. We work, all of them practically are fantastic colleagues and friends of mine, but it's their choice. I will have only to hear, to listen to, and then maybe make a couple of announcements, that's all. First of all, I think we are living in the times where Leonidas Kavakos or Pinchas Zuckerman do not play in this absolute same way. That means we're still protected. They're not only still alive, but they're doing very well. I work extensively with both of them. I just mentioned 2, but there will be immediately other 5, 10 names, and Anne-Sophie Mutter, who was last time in the jury, or Vengerov, or Repin, or Snyder, who is here, maybe even will come now here because he was committed to something else. But I think we're not facing a crisis, but competition, yes, can push young musicians to become a sportsman, so to say, because they have to overcome certain barriers, certain difficulties. Play fast, play big, play loud, I don't know. But so we try to, whatever we can do. But maybe 90% of those who will come, we do not know. At least I do not know. I know some of those who are already getting some fame. They played already other competitions and even won some competitions. It's talking about violinists or pianists or cellists. I think we will divide our responsibilities into. One of them is during the competition, but even more importantly, after the competition. And I mentioned, I didn't tell you so much about those discussions where, for example, with Nelson Freire, is a hugely respected artist, Brazilian pianist who plays regularly with me, and he also was in the jury last time. This time, he also will devote certain amount of time, and together with me, with Mariinsky Orchestra, with London Symphony, with Berlin Philharmonic, but we will find the way to help them go up. It will be not only our pleasure, not only honor for us, but also it comes out of conviction that this is what we need to do. I myself, 35 years ago, even 40 years ago, I was a student of not only one famous professor. I had at least 5, maybe 7 very famous teachers. Then I had musicians who were then worldwide known, and I was absolutely unknown. So they helped me, and they were helping me in the ways that now I understand was so important for me to hear this advice. For example, there was an old man, nobody knows his name, he was a timpani player in the Mariinsky Orchestra. It was in 1978, maybe, 78, 79, my very first time I conducted War and Peace, or Mazeppa. So these are very big operas for a young conductor without any experience. And it was not even my colleague It was not someone who is so famous, but just one of the musicians. But he was so observant. He was telling me, you know, when you conduct a chorus, you have to remember one thing. You have to give them support from the pit, from the sound. You always do this. The orchestra stop playing. They lose. They don't hear sound. They lose, and the intonation goes wrong, and rhythmically. So he gave me fantastic advices so long ago. Now I myself sometimes doing work with young conductors, and it seems now I find myself in a position to be kind of a teacher, you know, an older friend, older colleague. So I very carefully. I was recently doing with Concertgebouw Orchestra a master class. So what you tell young conductor? He's standing in front of a fantastic orchestra, and you know he doesn't do too much, and the orchestra plays very well. It's a good orchestra, let's put it so. But you need to tell him that this orchestra maybe plays because they know how to do it. But if you have another orchestra and you do something like this, the sound will be not that beautiful. You have to know how to touch the sound of the orchestra and all these things. So I believe, to answer your question, we will do more after competition. But during the competition, all of us will be very, very watchful, very totally attentive, because there will be very gifted people, for sure. And it's in a way, it's celebration, it's a festivity. Some of them will be broken with tears if they don't make it into the final. Someone will only want gold medal, nothing else, because he already has 2-3 gold medals of other competitions. But it will be emotional, it will be even maybe tensed, maybe even there will be a polarizing atmosphere. Some even inside jury will think this is the choice. There will be maybe 4 of them, and maybe another 5 or 6 of them will be on the other side. So all of this happens during competition. And the history of Tchaikovsky competition, look, when Sokolov got a gold medal, public was very unhappy. Some of them. They were even screaming at the jury. Emil Gilles, one of the greatest pianists of all time, got very unpleasant, 2-3 minutes when he went out, because they were screaming at him, because they thought that the second prize was more eccentric, or maybe. But today, it's proven the jury was smart. Sokolov is a great pianist, and the same story with Pletnyov, and the same. There were so many legendary stories in this competition. So we don't want to, and you know those names because some of them are represented in the juries this time here. And important remark, it was me who proposed that 16 old pianists or violinists will be allowed to participate, because Sokolov was 16 when he won gold medal. And Obraztsova or Gutnikov or John Ogden, they were nearly 32 years old when they won gold. So we made it from 16 to 32. So it's a very wide, let's say, spectrum. So you have really very, very young and artists who are maybe coming to the peak of their, let's say, the last statement of their youth can be made to Tchaikovsky competition, because being 35, you cannot pretend you are a very, very young pianist, That's how we see it. So I think it is maybe making it equally possible for those who are brilliant and very, very young, and those who are maturing and become incredible artists after they played maybe 100 or 200 concerts and the repertoire is grown, and then they grow. Look at Kavakos, he's growing all the time. That's what I see. I work with him at least 20 years, 22. He's growing all the time. And I think those who are now 29, 30 may surprise everybody. May surprise. Really good young player, really talented, will be supported by some of the best musicians of our time, will be supported. The problem is sometimes that professors are used to be invited. So what you see in our world, let's say 10 competitions or maybe 20 competitions, but you will see the same 20 names who will be there. At least half of those competitions will be the same. So they judged a competition, one in Germany, one in Belgium, one in US, one in France, and you see, yes, there is a change, but out of 10 names every time, the 4 or 3 or 5 or even 6 going there, then going there, and it becomes a little bit of a club, which has all the cards in their hands. And we are not doing anything against anyone. But my opinion is, and was 4 years ago, that a brilliant musician who himself achieved so much cannot be on anybody's side and cannot work against anyone. Even if it's a student of his own teacher, it doesn't mean he will support only him. I believe in a total integrity and honesty of those people who are invited. And last competition, Peter Donahoe, for example, or Barry Douglas, I just talk about those you certainly maybe know even personally very well because they are very regularly here in this country. I think they were very good jury members because objectivity was total. I mean, also in French represented by Michel Beroff. I just remember that they were very precise, honest, and the arguments and reasons for them to vote for the were very clear and understood really well. And I believe this will be altogether a very fair competition. The only thing I am afraid is to lose someone in the first round, because we musicians have a habit to judge sometimes very harshly if someone plays even 5 seconds of a Mozart's music and plays a little bit too loud or too fast, and then oh, this is no good because this is not the way. But I am playing or conducting, being on stage with maybe hundreds of leading musicians of our time, and they all play Mozart very differently. So it will be easy to say that no one knows how to play the music of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. You can only wait for a miracle to happen, that someone comes and just gives his own feeling, his own reading, sense of what is his music about. The same about conductors. How you can compare Furtwängler's Mozart, for example, or Harlan Kumar. So you cannot, but we consider them both very great Mozart conductors. So I think this is this little fear I have personally, because in the first round, I would simply try to find out, if I was in the jury, who is capable of playing instrument very well and has expression, has a temperament, has fire in his sound, and also some kind of discipline. So that makes it altogether a complex of a future professional, really very promising. And then in the second round to look more in detail into how he plays this or other composer. And then of course, if it's a Tchaikovsky competition, in the final round with a big orchestra, they have to know how to play big concertos, Brahms concerto or Tchaikovsky or Rachmaninoff. I mean, the big concertos is a must. You cannot pretend to become a gold medal winner if you simply do not know how to lead the big orchestra. It's not only how big is your sound, it's your will, which normally takes the attention of public, but also musicians who follow you. And I saw many times that very promising people were kind of disappearing when there was a background, a big orchestra, and the entrance of the orchestra, and then you say, "Ooh, it's not enough. There's something lucky, something missing." So that can happen. But not only jury, I think there are good judgment. The jury will be very strong in vocal because they are brilliant professionals. For example, John Fisher or Sarah Billinghurst, they spent, I don't know, 30, 40 years hearing all the best singers of last 40 years. All, I repeat, all, because they work, at the Metropolitan Opera, in leading European houses, San Francisco. These are famous professionals, and we have Christina Muti, who has a big experience in the festival in Ravenna. Is very successful. Again, many leading musicians constantly come there. Not only leading orchestras, but also singers. And as a wife of Riccardo Muti, she most probably heard many good singers as well. But we try to combine the presence of those who lead big festivals or big organizations, Carnegie Hall, Verbia Festival, leading them, or Pacific Music Festival, or opera houses, artistic administrators who know how to work with young musicians, how to give them what they deserve, and maybe how not to give them what they cannot do yet. This is especially true about singers. You give some Wagner role to a singer who is very promising, you most probably will destroy him. So one has to know how to wait and see where in 5 years, where in 10 years will be this young singer. These are very, very experienced people, and maybe they do not sing themselves. In the same time, you see Olga Borodina or Thomas Kvastkov, great, great, great singers. So the combination would be maybe the best. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.